Toastmaster, this guy gets the nod. They become visibly emotional at the end of the play. Please help me welcome Bruce Pine as he recites, mostly from memory, the Longfellow poem, Paul Revere's Run. Bruce?
I just wish this room were as cool as the hallways that I traveled for 40 minutes through trying to get to this room. Listen, Toastmasters, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. On the 18th of April in '75, there's not a man now who's still alive who remembers that famous day and year. He said to his friend, "If the British march by land or sea from the town tonight, hang a lantern aloft in the belfry arch of the North Church tower as a signal light. One if by land and two if by sea, and I on the opposite shore will be, ready to ride and spread the alarm to every Middlesex village and farm for the country folk to be up into arms." He said good night, and with muffled door, silently rose the Charlestown shore, just as the moon rose over the bay, where, swinging wide at her moorings lay, the Somerset, British man of war, a phantom ship with each mast and spar against the moon like a prison bar, and a huge black hulk that was magnified by its own reflection in the tide. Meanwhile, his friend through alley and street wanders and watches with eager ears, till in the silence around him he hears the muster of men at the barrack door, the sound of arms and the tramp of feet, and the measured tread of the grenadiers marching down to the boats on the shore. Then he climbed the tower of the old North Church by the wooden stairs with stealthy tread to the belfry chamber overhead, and startled the pigeons from their perch on the somber rafters that round him made masses and moving shapes of shade. By the trembling ladder, steep and tall, to the highest window in the wall, where he paused to listen and look down a moment on the roofs of the town. Suddenly, all his thoughts were bent on a shadowy something far away, where the river widens to meet the bay, a line of black that bends and floats on the rising tide like a bridge of boats. Meanwhile, impatient to mount and ride, booted and spurred with a heavy stride, on the opposite shore walked Paul Revere. Now he patted his horse's side, now gazed at the landscape far and near, then impetuous stamped the earth, and turned and tightened the saddle girth. But mostly he watched with eager search the belfry tower of the old North Church as it stood above the graves in the hill, lonely and spectral and somber and still. And lo, as he looks in the belfry height, a glimmer and then a gleam of light. He springs to a saddle, the bridle he turns, but lingers and gazes till full in his sight a second lamp in the belfry burns. A hurry of hoofs in the village street, a shape in the moonlight, a bulk in the dark, and beneath from the pebbles and passing a spark, struck out by a steed flying fearless and fleet, that was all. And yet, through the gloom and the night, the fate of a nation was writing that night. And the spark struck out by the speed in his flight kindled the land into flame with its heat. It was 2 by the village clock when he came to the bridge in Concord town. He heard the bleating of the flock and the twitter of birds among the trees, and felt the breath of the morning breeze blowing over the meadows brown. And one was safe and asleep in his bed. Who at the bridge would be first to fall? Who that day would be lying dead, pierced by a British musket ball? You know the rest. In books you have read how the British regulars fired and fled, how the farmers gave them ball for ball from behind each fence and farmyard wall, chasing the redcoats down the lane, then crossing the fields to emerge again under the trees at the turn of the road, and only pausing to fire and load. And so through the night rode Paul Revere, and so through the night went his cry of alarm to every Middlesex village and farm, a cry of defiance and not of fear, a voice in the darkness, a knock at the door, and the word that shall echo forevermore. For born in the night wind of the past, through all our history to the last, in the hour of darkness and time of need, the people will waken and listen to hear the hurrying hoofbeats of that steed and the midnight message, Paul Revere.